Hi, and welcome to the show Podium. And we're on session 041. And this week, I'm really inspired to talk about unconditional performance. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you've been around this work for a little while, you would have heard people talk about insights. And what I mean by insights is that you see something in a particular way that you didn't see previously. And this last few weeks, I've been having sort of moments of feeling like I'm in a popcorn factory. You know, when something comes into focus, you can see it better. You know, sometimes you get in those moods and you just cannot see anything. You've got lots and lots of activity in your mind. And then suddenly, it's as if you get behind your eyeballs and then you can see your perspective and you can see what's going on. Well, that's what's happened to me this week in terms of unconditional performance. So let's just dive straight in. And let's look at the unconditional part of it. And I'm just going to tell you a quick story because I woke up with this morning and I just thought, oh my goodness, this is amazing. This is brilliant. And so thank you for giving me this idea this morning. And it started last night. My daughter was going out for dinner. And generally, Lydia is very much like me, kind of sporty young girl. And when you get to go out for dinner, you get really dressed up. So you're out of your tracksuit, you're out of your slacks, and you get kind of really poshed up. So she's going out for dinner with her boyfriend's parents, and it was her boyfriend's mother's 60th birthday. So it was a really special time. And Lydia said, oh, would you help me to choose something to wear? So, of course, I really got involved, and we went and up to her dad's, and we chose a couple of dresses and came back down, and she got really dressed up, and it was lovely. And she came downstairs and her hair was all silky and beautiful. And she had a beautiful dress on and she looked stunning. And she had all the makeup on, which I rarely see Lydia in. And she said, how do I look? And I said, oh my goodness, you look gorgeous, really gorgeous. And then I had a little thought at the back of my mind, which said, well, you would if you didn't have those 3 dreadlocks at the back of your hair. Because when she went to Australia, she had some dreadlocks put in. And that's, Lydia's beautiful way of expressing herself. But I have some opinion and some judgment on that. And I could feel this morning, I didn't see it yesterday, but I could feel this morning, wow, that's conditional. So, yes, I was really with her. She looked beautiful. And there was this expectation or this need or this desire or this want to have a correction. So in that moment, I was not truly appreciating her beauty unconditionally. And it seems to me that in that moment, I was missing out. I was really not engaged fully with the moment, with the experience of appreciating and connecting with Lydia and enjoying her wonderful expression in that moment, because I had something else on it. I had a judgment on it that it should look a different way. And when we look at sport, this is a really good analogy, because in terms of sports performance, are we really in control? And I can see that if we can be involved in our activities and our endeavours unconditionally, not expecting it to be a particular outcome, not needing it to be a particular score or a particular time or a particular shape, not wanting it to be in any type of form, an attachment that somehow makes us feel better as a human being or somehow validates us. And in my example, if Lydia somehow had completely silky hair without those dreadlocks underneath, somehow, does that say anything as me as a parent? I'm not sure what it is right now that I've got on that, but I think it's just a pure judgment, that an opinion that would suggest that that would look better. And that's just my thoughts. That's just my made up, illusory belief system. And it was preventing me from truly enjoying and getting the most satisfaction and fulfillment out of that moment. And when we start to look in this direction in terms of sport performance, we have more opportunity to connect and perform from source, to perform from the energy which provides the performance in the first place. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that we don't have targets and we don't record our times, because that's the nature of sport. You know, if we are competing, then we need to have a particular time and we need to record it because we're in competition with another. And the idea is to get faster or to win by having more possession. I'm not suggesting that we don't have those parameters, but what I'm suggesting, what I'm pointing to here, is where you're coming from, the space that you're coming from when you show up to your competition and training. And are you in it with nothing on it? Are you performing having surrendered to what it needs to look like? Any correction, any judgment that you have on the performance, and allow that to simply flow through you? Do you trust in that which is producing the performance in the first place? Because it's not you. That would be like saying that, you know, I'm responsible for how quickly my hair grows. I mean, I'd like to have really long hair right now, but I'm not responsible for that. Denise Holland, the ideas I have of who I am, is not responsible for my heart beating. There's no way it can be. There's something else going on here. And in terms of sports performance, in terms of any performance, doesn't matter what it is, if you can get in touch with and connect with the source of that, and in doing that, we're able to turn down the volume of any need for it to be a particular way. And in my example, I wasn't fully connected. I wasn't fully immersed in that moment of appreciating and sharing in Lydia's expression when she went out for dinner last night, because I had a little something else that I wanted it to be. And that's just the ideas that Denise has come up with in that moment. And that's just thought. And thought comes and goes, and that's not who and what we really are as human beings. So in conclusion, it's like falling in love with something or someone, that feeling of absolute joy. And for me, I see that when we are performing and it's unconditional, we are connecting with that which produces human endeavour, human performance, human behaviours. And we can see it's not up to us. We can see that we are not really in control of that. And there's a beauty and a real joy for me in exploring what's possible in terms of performance and results. Like, we do not know what is possible of the human body, of the human mind, because there is this infinite capacity to bring the formless into the form. And it seems to me that when you fall in love with something, you don't have the need to have those little corrections. You are just free to be totally inspired, absolutely 100% involved and engaged, and for it not to have to be a particular result. The mind is quieter, and in that space of quietness there is true, authentic connection. And in sport, especially team sports, you can see that unity, you can see that oneness, when all players are absolutely firing and totally in love with the performance, inspired by what it is they're creating, and they have no personal need or requirement for it to be a particular way. And falling in love with something, for me, is breaking down inspiration in spirit. It's all pointing to the essence of who and what we are as spiritual beings having a human experience. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show. I've certainly loved recording it. It's just a beautiful space, isn't it? Falling in love, being in love. It's like one great big hug with life. So I'm going to leave you with that. And if you would like to get in touch with me, you can contact me on denise.holland@class-performance.com. Or you can check out my website on www.class-performance.com. Now, in terms of these podcast shows, we're into our 40s now, and I'd really love it if you would just leave a review and just rate the podcast, because it really helps for the podcast show, as I understand it, to be more visible. So if you could do that, that would be great. And that just leaves me to say thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to sharing with you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.